I quit reading Mansfield Park about halfway through it. Let me tell you why. So, like I think most people who read Jane Austen, I started with Pride and Prejudice. I made a video on it. Don't bother watching it. Of the few I've made so far, it might be my least favorite. But what did I think of it? I'm not gonna say I loved it, but I did like it. And I made it a goal to read the other 5 novels that she completed. For no particular reason, I chose Mansfield Park to be the next one I'd tackle. A quote in the blurb of my edition from a literature professor was encouraging. The first novel that Jane Austen wrote in the maturity of her powers. A long novel, her longest, and its length is an index of magnitude. Unfortunately, I just had a hard time latching onto it. My main problem with it had to do with the main character, Fanny Price. The book starts off with her going to live with her mother's sister's family. Her own parents are poor, and her aunt thinks it'll be a good idea to take care of her and thereby lessen the burden on them. So she's really shy. Not long after she moves in, she wants to write to her older brother, but she's too shy to ask for paper. It's really hard to root for a character like this. I didn't need her to be as bold, confident, witty, and, as I think they would have said back then, headstrong as Elizabeth Bennet. But I would have liked it if she was a tiny bit more assertive. By the way, it's interesting that the 2 main characters, Fanny and her cousin Edmund, are sort of like 2 characters in Pride and Prejudice who are made fun of. You've got a shy and unprepossessing girl like Mary, and Edmund, the love interest, is a priest, so he's kind of like Mr. Collins. There really isn't much conflict in this book. In the first volume, the first of 3, the main conflict is that some of the people Fanny and her cousins are hanging out with, they want to hold a private performance of a play, and they want to build a stage in Fanny's uncle's study or something. And Fanny thinks that's wrong. I just can't bring myself to care about that. And I have a hard time believing that even back then people really cared. Maybe they did. Maybe that was just a really huge transgression back then. So here's why I think Pride and Prejudice is more accessible than Mansfield Park. In the case of Pride and Prejudice, women don't have to choose between marriage and destitution these days. Well, maybe sometimes they do. Okay, I'm not going to get into all that here. This is just a book review channel. The point is, customs have changed, but people still have the same concerns that they did back then. People still care about money and status and things like that. And Pride and Prejudice is all about those things. Mansfield Park is, I guess, also about those things, but on a more subtle level, and it lacks the urgency of the older book. Fanny has to deal with feelings of inferiority as she interacts with her aunt's family and the people in their social circle, but she doesn't have to worry about becoming poor like the Bennet sisters do. But maybe this is a book for people who like a slower pace and subtlety. I gave up at, actually my bookmark's still right where I stopped, page 200 out of 370, so about 54%. Maybe it gets better later. There's a rival to Fanny, Mary Crawford. Maybe she gets developed in an interesting way in the second half of the book. I don't know. So yeah, that's why I decided to abandon Mansfield Park. I like that term more than DNF, by the way. It's what my elementary school teachers called not finishing a book. When it comes to some other books I abandoned, I've thought to myself that maybe I just didn't come to them at the right time, and I'll attempt to read them later. Mansfield Park, though, I don't have plans to revisit it. For any Austen fans listening, got any advice for which of her books I should check out next? Sense and Sensibility? Emma? Persuasion? And what was that other one? I always forget that other one. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a nice day.